KFC is one of the most classic fast food restaurants in the world, with over 21,000 restaurants in over 130 countries. However, since Colonel Sanders died, the company has actually been on a rapid decline due to a variety of reasons, and in 2013, Chick-Fil-A actually passed KFC as the leading chicken retailer in the US with half the amount of locations. But recently, KFC has been able to make a comeback. So why did KFC fail in the first place, and will they be able to reclaim their position as #1 chicken retailer? Make sure to stick around till the end to find out. Welcome to Hari Sabis. Harlan Sanders, or Colonel Sanders, was actually born in a small town outside of Henryville, Indiana in 1890. His father died when he was at a very young age, and as a result, his mother had to go out and find work, and this forced Sanders to cook and take care of his two younger siblings. He ended up leaving the family house when he was just 13 years old and would find himself in a lot of different professions, finding varying levels of success. In 1930, at the age of 40, he took over a Shell filling station on US Route 25. This restaurant was right outside of North Corbin, Kentucky, and this is where he first served his food that he learned as a kid to travelers. He was most famous for fried chicken, steak, and country ham. For the first 4 years, he actually served from his own dining table until he bought a larger filling station on the other side of the road. He only had 6 tables, but the food did all of the talking. In fact, by 1936, Governor Ruby LaFoon named him as the Kentucky Colonel. In 1937, he expanded his restaurant to accommodate for 142 seats, and he also purchased a motel across the street. He named his restaurant Sanders Court and Cafe. At the time, it would actually take a long duration of time to fry chicken on a frying pan, up to 35 minutes. And he refused to deep fry the chicken as he thought that this would lower the quality of the chicken. So he actually ended up pre-cooking the chicken, which led to a lot of wastage at the end of the day. But soon enough, in 1939, the first commercial pressure cooker was released onto the market. Now, this was originally designed to steam vegetables, but he bought this and modified it to fry chicken. He said that this reduced the time, making it comparable to the time of a deep fryer, but still retained the same taste. In 1940, he finalized what would be known as his original recipe. He also started acting like a colonel by changing the way he dressed and growing a goatee. Sanders Corn Cafe would generally serve travelers who were passing by the town, but in 1955, this town would get bypassed. What Sanders did now was sell everything that he owned in the town and started traveling the United States to try to franchise his chicken recipe to many restaurants. In 1952, he was successful at franchising his recipe to his friend Pete Harmon in Utah. Don Anderson, a sign painter that Harmon had hired, suggested the name Kentucky Fried Chicken. He thought this sounded very exotic and interesting, and as a result, he named it Kentucky Fried Chicken, and this is how the first KFC was born. Harmon actually ended up trademarking the phrase, "It's finger-lickin' good." This would eventually become the company-wide slogan, and in 1957, he would introduce the bucket meal. This would consist of 14 pieces of chicken, 5 bread rolls, and a pint of gravy, which would all be served in a cardboard bucket, and the bucket and the meal would both become signature of KFC. By 1963, they would have 600 KFC locations, making them the largest food chain in America at the time. They really popularized chicken, which challenged the dominance of the burger. And by 1964, Sanders was able to sell the company to a group of investors for $2 million, but he did place a lot of contingencies. He wanted to remain the company's quality controller and trademark, and he wanted a lifetime salary. They agreed to these rules, and by 1970, they had over 3,000 locations in 48 different countries. And in July of 1971, the investors sold the company to Ooblein for $285 million. They definitely got a great return out of KFC. In 1980, unfortunately Colonel Sanders passed away, and just 2 years later, Ooblein would be acquired by R.J. Reynolds. And in July of 1986, Reynolds would sell KFC to PepsiCo for $850 million. PepsiCo made a part of its restaurant division along with Taco Bell and Pizza Hut. And these 3 companies would later make up Tricon Global Brands, which would eventually be renamed as Yum Brands. So far, KFC had been growing pretty rapidly, but after the death of Colonel Sanders, it simply would not be the same anymore. After the death of Colonel Sanders, the company completely ditched Colonel Sanders and his red and white stripes in terms of marketing. Instead, they focused on ads that featured younger customers, making it look like KFC was young and hip. They even introduced a cartoon Sanders in the 1990s. Executives today say that this was an embarrassing misstep. And in 1991, they changed their name from Kentucky Fried Chicken to KFC. Now, they did this in an effort to go away from fried products and make it sound more healthy. Plus, this was already a commonly used abbreviation, so it wasn't that weird. But this led to rumors saying that the company changed their name as their chicken was not actually real chicken. This led to a lot of bad publicity about genetically modified chickens called Franken-chickens. They added a lot of new menu items trying to make themselves look more healthy or at least move away from the chicken products. One of these attempts was the Double Down, which was basically a sandwich but the bread was replaced with burgers. Now, I'm not really sure how this tasted, but the taste wasn't really the issue right here. The problem was that they were moving away from what people were used to as KFC. They stopped focusing on the menu items that they were actually really known for and what actually drove traffic. They spread themselves too thin, focusing on new menu items instead of trying to erase the bad image about their main menu items. And this gave KFC and their food a really bad reputation. There has also been rising competition over the last 2 decades. In 2016, Chick-Fil-A restaurants sold 3 times as much as KFC locations. Chick-fil-A's sales per restaurant was a whopping $3.1 million. This number can be attributed to their much better reputation as they are known for great customer service and an excellent mix of food. Chick-fil-A has consistently ranked number 1 for customer service and people just love their cleanliness. Meanwhile, customers have been complaining about the food in KFC for the past 25 years. They claim that the taste of KFC chicken has been consistently going down for the past 2 decades. They say that KFC just doesn't taste like KFC anymore. On top of this, KFC prices are generally just a bit more expensive than other fast food restaurants. And with quality of the products declining, people don't want to pay a higher price for a worse product. It seems to me that KFC has become more corporate, caring more about profits than actually providing a great customer experience, which is actually what will help their bottom line. Executives realized that KFC was going down the wrong path and they knew they had to make changes very quickly. So in 2015, they went out and recalibrated all of the pressure fryers across the US in an effort to improve the quality of the chicken. And they spent more than 100,000 hours retraining over 20,000 employees. They held 43 general rallies across the US, which 97% of general managers of KFCs attended. They also had training events at every single KFC in the United States. Since then, KFC claims that taste scores have significantly across America. Their rekernelization process was working, and not only did it boost customer interest, but also their satisfaction. But that wasn't it, they also had other means to boost employee performance. Over the past 3 years, they have been on a huge remodeling push, remodeling 70% of the restaurants, which is about 3,000 stores in the United States. These redesigned locations are reportedly getting reduced turnover rates. And the signs in the kitchen saying "Make the Colonel Proud" have really reinvigorated the staff. So at this point, their overall customer experience was really good. Now they needed to get the word out about KFC. And to accomplish this, they're actually bringing back the Colonel Sanders image. In 2015, they released an ad starring comedian Daryl Hammond as Colonel Sanders. Now, this did stir a response, not all of which was good, but KFC claims that 80% was positive. But despite that, I'm sure this commercial touched hundreds of thousands of people's lives and encouraged them to go give KFC another shot. Since then, they have added more comedians and produced more commercials, and the negative criticism has largely died down. These commercials have accumulated millions of views and really have made KFC popular once again. The British ad company Unruly actually crowned KFC as the most shared food brand a couple of years ago. And executives say that they no longer try to convince people that fried chicken is healthy, as it is just not true. Rather, they are more focused on actually convincing people that their food is real food, not Franken-chickens. And bringing in Colonel Sanders has largely aided in their process of convincing people that this is authentic food. And all of these efforts have led to great same-store sales growth. And last year, KFC was able to record one of the best growth years in several years. I think we can definitely say that KFC is back. KFC was one of the most recognizable restaurants in the late 1900s, starting with very modest roots. However, as they were acquired by larger corporations, they lost their authentic taste and were plagued with bad service. But recently, KFC has made significant changes and are growing faster than ever before. While I can't say that KFC will surpass Chick-Fil-A, as Chick-Fil-A is absolutely destroying it out there, I can confidently say that KFC is back and they're here to stay. But that's all I have for you guys on KFC. If you'd like to hear about their expansion outside of the US, then make sure to comment that down below. Also, if you guys like this video, then make sure to drop a like and consider subscribing if you'd like to see more videos just like this one. But until then, I'm Hari, and I'll see you guys on the next one.